I know a lot of you are out here behind me because this is just a taste of the lives that this man has touched. We're here today to celebrate someone who is a great Bulldog player. I mean, a great Bulldog player, an incredible coach, and a great man. And if we said it all, we'd be here until after the game was over. But there are some people who want to share a few words with you about the legacy of Bob Bennett. And to do that first, please welcome the Director of Athletics here at Fresno State and a driving force behind making today possible, Mr. Jim Bartko.
Thank you all very much. And I want to be the first one to welcome you to Pete Beiden Field at Bob Bennett Stadium. I thank you to all the fans in the audience here today who has made this possible. Generations of people have made this stadium possible and our baseball program possible. Secondly, I want to recognize Coach Batesel and the baseball program who are battling for conference championship and postseason. Coach, thank you for allowing us all this going on. Good luck tonight. Most importantly, I want to thank the people behind me. As an athletic director, you always want to have your athletes come back and feel welcome. As you look back here, Coach has touched a lot of lives. And all these people here right now, I want to give them a round of thank you for being here and supporting the day. And lastly, we met about 9 months ago at Applebee's, had a good talk. The impact he's had on this community, the Valley, a lot of kids in our program. I'm honored to be able to have Coach Bennett have his name on the stadium forever. So Coach Bennett, thank you for allowing us to do that. Now I want to bring up the mayor. She's got a nice recognition for Coach, and enjoy the ceremony. Thank you all for all you do for Fresno State.
Good evening, everyone. It is indeed a pleasure to be here on behalf of the people of Fresno and bring recognition to Coach Bennett, someone who is so near and dear to our hearts, someone who has brought pride and inspiration to literally hundreds of thousands and millions of people over the years. And because this is a very special occasion and because we are recognizing an outstanding man and an extraordinary family, I'd like to read to you a proclamation that highlights this person we recognize here tonight. It is from the city of Fresno, and it says, whereas Bob Bennett is the former head baseball coach of Fresno State University and one of the top Division I coaches of all time, boasting 1,302 career victories, making him one of only 20 Division I head coaches with over 1,300 wins in a career. And whereas during 34 seasons at Fresno State in 1967 and from 1970 to 2002, Bennett, the winningest coach in Fresno State baseball history, led his teams to extraordinary success, posting 26 consecutive winning seasons, winning or sharing 17 conference titles, and making 2 trips to the College World Series. And whereas Coach Bennett gained the NCAA playoff berths 21 times, and his teams were consistently ranked in the top 25 teams in the country. And whereas under Coach Bennett's leadership, Fresno State led the nation in attendance in 1988 and 1989. And during his time as head coach, the facility was built into what it now stands today. Since 1972, Pete Beiden Field, as it has been known, grew into a 3,575-seat stadium with a spacious press box, locker rooms, 4 batting cages, 6 mounds inside 2 bullpens. And whereas Coach Bennett was selected as Conference Coach of the Year 14 times, and as NCAA Coach of the Year in 1988, has received the Lefty Gomez Award from the American Baseball Coaches Association for his lifetime contributions to baseball, and is a member of 6 Halls of Fame, including the National College Baseball Hall of Fame. And the list goes on. And whereas Coach Bennett is known for his fundamentally sound baseball clubs, having more than 200 of his players selected in the regular phase of the annual June amateur draft, including 9 first-round draft picks, and 36 of his players became major league players. And whereas Bob Bennett was a 4-year letterman himself, a 2-time team captain for the Bulldog baseball team under Coach Pete Beiden as a player from 52 to 55, and whereas the CSU Committee on Institutional Advancement approved the motion to name Fresno State's baseball facility the Pete Beiden Field at Bob Bennett Stadium on March 8, 2016, and the CSU Board of Trustees finalized the approval. And whereas Fresno State is tonight honoring Coach Bennett and unveiling this new stadium signage when the Bulldogs host San Diego State. Now, therefore, be it resolved that all the people of Fresno, the Fresno City Council, and I, Mayor Ashley Swearingen, do hereby proclaim today, May 7th, 2016, to be Bob Bennett Day in the city of Fresno. Yes. Please give him a round of applause. It is now my distinct pleasure to welcome to the microphone someone you all know and love, former Fresno State baseball player Bobby Jones.
Wow, what a day, Coach. You know, today is a day where two of the biggest names out of Fresno State baseball history get put up on that scoreboard forever. Pete Beiden and Coach Bob Bennett. Something that's been a long time waiting. It's finally here, Coach. I know you're. I know that you have touched so many of us just by looking at the group behind you today in different ways. You know, we got doctors, we got lawyers, we got a lot of teachers and coaches. But I think the one thing that's so important about this group is what you taught us, how you taught us. We're carrying on that teaching tradition today to the kids down the street, to our Little League kids, to our high school kids. It says a lot about you as a man, how you cared. And not only coaching, but you taught us to be community figures, to always remember where you came from. And that's something that has always stood with me. You know, this is one guy who I always get emotional when I talk about him because he's meant so much to me. He's done a lot for me. If it wasn't for him, I would never be where I was today. I would have never played in the big leagues. I would have never been able to pass along what I have to my kids, my family. And it's the same with all these guys behind us here. You know, when I came here at Fresno State, I was as Todd talked about earlier, there was no long hair allowed, no mustaches. I was that young punk drummer in a rock band. And you made me better with that dang fungo bat. I would hate after practice, we wouldn't have a board up there that would talk about what our running was afterwards, and I would hate it because he'd say, all right, pitchers, grab a ball. And I'm like, dang, a couple of us were talking about it today. They called me, I was slow. I wasn't lazy, I was just slow. I hated running. But every single time we would get down that line, and he was a master to fungo. You could put a bucket out there and he'd hit a few balls in it. Honest to God. So we'd get down this line and we'd run off and he'd hit a fungo and everyone would catch it except for me. He'd hit the ball over my head 2 feet every single time. And it'd roll the fence. And pretty soon I got tired because I was running a lot more than other guys. And we'd do this thing where we said, okay, we catch 3 and we're done. And I'd look, and it'd be 1, 2, me. Because every time he's going to hit it over my head. But he made me, I hated to lose, but he made me better because I had to kind of outsmart him. I started off slow, and then I kick it into gear when I saw him throw the ball up in the air. And I knew he couldn't change his bat plane. But, Coach, on behalf of all of us here today, all these great fans, every player and coach in that dugout and this dugout, and every kid who will ever step foot on this field, thank you for what you've done for all of us.
Well, this is a big deal for my family and for me, a huge deal. And I have so many people to thank. Dr. Castro, Jim Bartko, and your staff for what you've done. And we had to battle to get the stadium built. We had to battle through a bunch of no's, baseball full of no's. But the important yeses overshadowed those. And the important yeses we got were, number one, from Dr. Hack. He said, I don't have any money for you to build a stadium, but if you can raise it, go ahead and do it. I went to the athletic director, Russ Sloan. He said, I don't have any money for the project, but if you can raise the money, go ahead and do it, and I'll help you. And then when we had a yes from Earl Smitkamp and Atwood Grove, who chaired the committee, and we got a yes from an architect named Ed Darden, who worked 2 years free. We had Joyce and Larry Buss were instrumental in this thing, and a guy named Paul McGuire and his wife Eileen. And then we had a meeting one morning, and Paul came in and said, Sweet 16, we got 16 people to put up $50,000 in guaranteed money, meaning that if we didn't raise the money, they'd be losing $50,000 apiece. So that put a little pressure on us, but we managed to get through it and build a stadium. I'm also indebted to the Dugout Club and to Mike Rupsich and to Mark Cameron was also in that committee, and the Dugout Club, because without the Dugout Club, the stadium wouldn't have been built. And the people in the stands who built individual seats, who bought individual seats is the reason we have the stadium today. And we thank you for your support. But the reason you gave us that support is because of these guys behind us, these players. They're the reason you put the money up for them, because they had the character, the commitment, and qualities that you liked. And we're so appreciative of these players, because without them, there would be no stadium here. So we appreciate that, and we thank you. This is a great day for us, for the Bennett family, and we thank everybody that had anything to do with it. Thank you very much.
Hold on, Coach. All right, Coach. We see your wife, Jane, here, and this is your whole family over here to my left. You had 2 sons play for you, a son-in-law play for you, 2 grandsons play for you. Who's going to throw out the ceremonial first pitch?
My great-grandson, Wyatt Prieto.
Great-grandson Wyatt, first pitch. Let's hear it for Bob Bennett as we get Wyatt up to the mound. The one and only.